All right, today we are diving into Richard Cooper's really provocative book, The Unplugged Alpha. It's basically pitched as a no-nonsense, pull-no-punches guide for men on how to succeed in life and, well, with women. So let's get right into what this whole philosophy is actually about. So here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to follow the book's own structure. First, it lays out what it sees as the big problem facing modern men. Then, it hits you with a series of what it calls hard truths. And finally, it offers a very specific blueprint for how to solve it all. You know, the author sets the tone right from the get-go with this quote. It's basically a warning shot, telling you up front that this book is designed to shake up what you believe before it tries to show you a different way. Okay, so what is the fundamental problem that this book claims it can solve? It's all wrapped up in this idea of the modern man's dilemma, which really zeroes in on what it calls the nice guy problem. So the core idea here is that our society, through media, schools, the whole shebang, is basically programming men to be these very agreeable, compliant, nice guys. The author argues this conditioning often paints men as kind of clueless or incompetent, which leaves them totally unprepared for the real dynamics of attraction and power. All right, so once the book lays out that problem, it introduces what it calls an unplugged worldview. Think of this as a set of, let's say, harsh realities that it claims men absolutely have to accept before they can see how things really work. And a massive piece of this worldview, a foundational concept, is hypergamy. The book defines this as a woman's natural biological drive to find a partner of equal or, even better, higher value. And in the book's view, that value is pretty much measured by three things: looks, money, and status. Now, this is where the book really pushes back against the common narrative. It says, sure, you're told men have all this privilege, but, it argues, the reality is that men are actually the disposable sex. And to back this up, the author points to statistics showing men are way more likely to be homeless, to commit suicide, and to die in dangerous jobs. So, after painting that pretty bleak picture, the book makes a hard pivot toward the solution. It offers a blueprint for how a man can build himself into what the author calls a high-value or alpha male. This whole blueprint rests on four main pillars, which the author insists are the key metrics for a man's value. First up is looks, getting in shape and taking care of your appearance. Second, money, specifically reaching financial independence. Third is status, which is about earning respect through what you accomplish. And the fourth, game. That's all about having the confidence and social skills to communicate that value. Okay, so that's the framework. Now let's see how this whole philosophy gets applied to the modern dating scene. Right. The book takes the classic 80-20 rule and applies it to online dating. The claim is that the top 20% of men are getting all the attention from about 80% of the women. This, of course, leaves the other 80% of guys fighting over the remaining 22%. The whole point here is to show that for most men, dating today is an incredibly competitive game. So, to navigate this, the author suggests a rating system to figure out a woman's actual interest level. And it's all based on her actions, not her words. If she's a 9 or 10, that's genuine desire. A 7 or 8 means indifference, think canceled plans and slow texts. Anything 6 or below, she's a detractor, and the advice is to just move on. And that leads to another huge part of the book, vetting potential partners. The author gives this massive list of red flags or warning signs to watch out for. What you see here is just a tiny sample, but they cover a whole range of things, from lifestyle choices and relationship history to emotional stability. And finally, we arrive at what is, without a doubt, the most controversial part of the book, its take on long-term relationships and, specifically, marriage. The entire discussion on marriage in the book really boils down to this one question. Now, the author takes a very, very strong stance. And just to be clear, we're simply reporting on the arguments as they're laid out in the text. This quote right here, it pretty much perfectly captures the book's perspective. It pushes you to stop seeing marriage as a romantic fairy tale and start seeing it as a high-stakes legal and financial contract where it argues the terms are just stacked against men. The book's core argument against marriage is that the family court and divorce law systems create an insane amount of risk. It claims these systems can wipe a man out financially, saddle him with alimony, and severely limit or even eliminate his access to his own kids. So, after all that, you might think the whole point is just to be angry or bitter, right? Well, the author claims the end goal isn't to create resentment towards women. Instead, unplugging is presented as a way of accepting these difficult truths so you can build a more confident, focused, and ultimately peaceful life for yourself. And that's what it all comes down to, really. It leaves us with this big question. Does this way of thinking actually set men free, like it claims to? Or does looking at life as this constant game of strategy and risk assessment just trap them in a different kind of prison? That's the question the book ultimately leaves you to answer.